Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. And in studio, it's Ryan Hyatt with TheRaiderland.com.
I'm glad you reminded me this morning on Twitter that I was going to be on. Because I had it set in my calendar, but then when I saw it on Twitter, I'm like, yep, time to put the pants on. We're going to town.
Yeah, I figured that I probably should do that, just as a nice little, it's to promote, but also the real intent to remind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm here, and I do have pants on for those unable to watch the studio camera.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't allow that up here anymore.
They're nice, though. They got the conchos on it, very Dwight Yoakam look, not bad for a Monday.
Let's see. So Texas Tech finally announced this last week and had the big rollout on Saturday. The new Texas Tech head football coach, Matt Wells. The reaction here on this show has kind of been mixed. What's it been since the announcement?
We started talking about him, 2 weeks ago, really on the site, when it became apparent that Cliff Kingsbury's job was in jeopardy and some people on the short list. And he was one of those guys a year ago that Kirby Hocutt had identified. But his name was still kind of an under-the-radar name, I think, for the average football fan. Yeah. And most people are average football fans, and that's okay. That you need average football fans to have a great program. And I think once they have been brought up to speed on what he's accomplished and where he accomplished it, that they become more impressed with who he is. The next step had to be the Saturday morning, what pep rally / press conference, whatever you want to call it.
The nice rollout.
He won the press conference.
Yeah,
I think he struck all the right tones that Texas Tech fans needed to hear and wanted to hear. He articulated a clear vision for what his program is about, and not only what he wants to do, but I think this is just as important. I thought he clearly articulated how they do it within the structure of their program. It's not, hey, we're going to win football games. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, it starts here and here and here, and this is how we do it, and this is what we do, and this is who we are. And I thought he fit right in immediately in the Texas Tech community that way. Everybody I've talked to, I've yet to talk to anybody who listened to it, watched it, or was there that wasn't impressed. So the next thing you got to do is go get some really good football players and win games. It's that simple now.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
One of the, I guess we can go through some of the I don't know, controversy, the questions that people have. He's not from Texas. This is one of the big talking points either on social media or anywhere else. He's not from Texas. He has no Texas ties whatsoever. He actually talked about that a little bit in the press
except
conference.
for his family, which lives in Texas, and he was born in Oklahoma, and he's recruited Texas extensively.
Yeah,
he was a recruiting coordinator at several schools where he was also an assistant coach. Tulsa, New Mexico. You recruit Texas when you're at those places. Yost, his offensive coordinator, recruited Texas at different places, including Washington State a little bit, definitely at Oregon, where he met Tech quarterback Alan Bowman. Worked him out when he was a sophomore. Keith Patterson, the defensive coordinator, I know, has recruited Texas, coached at Allen High School there in Texas in the 2000s. So this is a staff that at first glance you might think, well, they're coming in from Utah. How would they even know how to find a Whataburger? They know where Whataburger is, and they know to get the number 2 of cheese, what a size Diet Coke.
Very nice. That's a good order.
And it's breakfast.
Yeah. So he has the Texas ties. He has everything that you would want in that department. How his record at Utah State, and this is something that when you and I had talked either off the air or when during your Periscope broadcast, during your podcast, people always look at the record. They look at the record at Utah State. He had that 3-9 season. Otherwise, he had 2 10-win seasons. Had a couple of 6-win seasons. On paper, people say, "Well, we got rid of Cliff Kingsbury for this guy." Why is that impressive at Utah State?
Yeah, Utah State's one of the most moribund programs before he and Gary Anderson, the previous coach, arrived, and he was Anderson's offensive coordinator when they were building this. They didn't win games. They didn't certainly go to bowl games. They didn't win games. And the job that they did building that, and then there was a little drop down with some injuries. And when you're at Utah State, you don't have a ton of depth. And when they lost their quarterback, who's been on his staff the last couple of years, 4 years ago, I'm trying to remember which season it was right offhand. But anyways, you get a drop down like that, it hurt them. They built it back up. And to me, that was as impressive. Used to have a T-shirt. The Lady Raiders used to have a T-shirt that said it's a lot easier to become a champion than remain a champion.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier at a place that doesn't win a lot to go in there, get hot for a second, and then it drops down and you never rebuild it. that showed that there was a program in place, that there were ideals and things in place that allowed them to recapture that and get it going again at a place that nobody had won at, since the early 60s when former Tech offense coordinator Dick Winder was there, for those who remember Texas Tech and Spike Dykes, and they had football back in the 90s. It was kind of cool, even in the 80s.
So Matt Wells, as you said earlier, this is a guy who his name has been floating around, at least from around Kirby Hocutt, for the last 2 years. Yeah. Kirby Hocutt knew who he was. His name was probably either the first or second name that we even heard of when the coaching search began, or even previously began. So and we heard other names. Dana Holgerson's name was floated out there.
Yeah.
Mike Leach, of course, was put out there. All these other names were put out there. To me, that tells me Kirby knew it was between one or two, maybe three people, and that's it.
Kirby Hocutt told you last Sunday in the press conference after they fired Cliff Kingsbury who he was going to hire. He told you by describing Matt Wells almost to the T that he was going to go hire Matt Wells.
Yeah.
You just had to listen to him, and then once you see and learn and then you see, oh, okay, he was going to go hire Matt Wells.
Yeah. And then he did.
Yep.
So
quickly, and now you got a chance to hold on to the recruiting class and get things ready for late December.
Do you think Dana Holgerson was ever in contention?
No.
All right.
I don't think that was being proffered by certain alumni and some former players that played for him. They've got a little bit of money, and that was something that they wanted. That was not going to happen. It certainly wasn't going to happen at $5 million a year. And I agree with Kirby Hocutt. I don't think that would have been the right time, the right direction, and the right guy for this Texas Tech program.
Yeah, so
I love Dana.
Yeah, but that was never even on Kirby's mind.
No,
I think it was. I think it was Leavitt and Wells. Those were probably the only two, maybe Venables. But those were probably the only ones.
Venables was the only coordinator
mind.
that was going to be looked at, and then maybe Norvell there at Memphis.
Oh yeah.
They had a hell of a game against UCF on Saturday evening. Very nearly took them down. Just could not keep that UCF offense in check. There in the fourth quarter, in the second half, and I think he might have been tertiary, but yeah, I think Hocutt knew where he was going.
Okay, before we let you go, then, what is this team? At least on paper, what are they going to look like? What is this team going to look like moving into the future?
Guys, you're going to see a lot of similarities. They're still going to throw it. They're going to run it much more effectively. I think the biggest personnel change you see offensively, it's not lip service to a tight end. It's not an H-back. It's a true tight end. It's put your hand in the dirt, block when you need to, create that leverage on the outside that increases the running game. They've run it incredibly effectively. Over 200 yards a game this year. They're in the top 40 in rushing offense, and they still throw it very well. You're going to see a physical defense. It's going to be, without getting two X's and O's, not that great a change from Texas Tech's defense, but maybe a little more flexible up front. And by that I mean some more three-man fronts where you have more linebackers, more defensive backs that can kind of play a hybrid position, that can be out there to stop the run on a rundown, but can also stay on the field and cover out and play not pass protection, but pass coverage without having to have a whole bunch of guys run in and off the field. And that's a little bit how you can combat some of the offenses around the country right now that are trying to speed you up. You got to have flexible guys. It's about speed, and then bring the hate when you hit them. And
how long before we have the Yost wigs that are?
I've got two myself. My son wore one to school today. So the Yostis with the mostest, the hair raid.
Yeah. I like it, and he says the only thing that he can't do because his wife forbids it is the perm.
Mean, when you got that look, the perm would, I think, almost compromise it.
I think so.
It would just be a little too much. This is effortless.
Yeah,
it's perfect,
and he uses it as a recruiting tool. He's like, people remember me.
And if you
the
ever
guy with the hair,
that and. If you're recruiting somebody whose favorite movie is Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
you're going to remember him.
Hey, dude.
Yeah, you're going to remember the guy. All right, before we let you go, Ryan Hyatt from the Raiderland.com. Any thoughts on the college football play? Did they get it right?
They got it right under the current system. With 4, it's hard to say a Georgia that didn't win a conference, didn't win their conference title game, and a couple of losses. It's hard to move them past an OU with only one loss. Notre Dame was going to be there. They benefit greatly from not having to play, a conference title game and anyone really. So that helps them. To me, it should be 8, and I think 16 is very workable, and it should be 16. Yeah. And it would be fantastic, and we would watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I tweeted out yesterday. Is that expand it to 8? Obviously, you're going to get all your conference champions in. You get a few extras in. It's more money.
Yeah.
It's more college football. More people are going to watch. I don't see the problem.
And with 16, you can either go home field first round,
Yeah.
and reward the top 8 seeds with home field. If you don't want to do that, then you can incorporate in some of the lower bowl sites that are absolutely struggling right now.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't, which of those bowls would not want to have Alabama UCF as opposed to, who am I going to pick on right here? New Mexico versus Fresno.
Yeah.
I think it would just greatly impact college football going forward. It would enhance everything for everybody. Oh, and they'll make a lot of money.
Yeah, and that's why it'll change. Not because it's
not
the right
because
thing
it's the
to
right
do.
thing to do, because they are realizing how much money they can make.
It'll change because there's a ton of money out there. All right, tell folks about your website and also about some of the podcast and Periscope broadcasts you got coming up.
Yeah, new content updated daily there at theraiderland.com. You can also watch our broadcast. We archive them there, but you can watch them real time if you get the Periscope app. Follow us on Twitter, Ryan Hyatt Media. Usually broadcast either at 4:30 in the afternoon or 7. That's a daily deal. And come see us this week, Friday, at Lubbock's 4 Golf.
Oh, back to Friday.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Excellent. All right, Ryan Hyatt, theraiderland.com. Thanks for stopping by.
That's it?
Yeah.
No, take a nap.
Go to Whataburger.
Again?
Yes,
Okay.
again, of course.